Good morning, everyone. And first I want to thank Ken and Jamie and Claudette and the team for giving me the opportunity to speak about one of my favorite topics, which is trust. And I also want to thank Dr. Joe Schwartz for his presentation this morning. It really set the stage for what I'm going to talk about because we have the exact same issues here in southern Alberta. You may think that we don't because, you know, it's a farming community, but we have the exact same concerns. And in fact, we have an additional one down here is around water use. One thing that I often get asked and complained about to me is why can't the farmers just water at night? So there's lots of confusion here as well. So I like to say that trust is the currency that we operate with at the Old Man Watershed Council. And that's really important because it's my job as one of 11 watershed planning and advisory councils in Alberta is to get people working together. And we really can't do that without trust. But it's hard to convince people to leave the safety of their echo chambers, to step out and hear from others who have opinions very different from their own. It's uncomfortable, but it's important. And we can't just hear what people say, we actually have to talk about it. And trust only sneaks up on us when we feel valued. So even if we don't agree, we can listen and share and discuss if we at least feel valued. Today we have a big trust problem. The fact is that there's been a global implosion of trust, and it is impacting agriculture and the watersheds in southern Alberta. I know you're worried about these issues because we held 3 listening sessions that we called Voices of the Old Man, Agriculture Matters workshops this winter, and some of you may have attended that. And you told us that social license was your #1 priority. That was above financial support or even water quality. And I know that you guys care about water. But this is good news. To me, this means that you've been through the 5 stages of acceptance and you're ready to take action. And the even better news is that we are here to help. We've been helping for the last 12 years by supporting best practices in agriculture. And today I want to ask for your participation. Help me to help you. We aim to launch a new campaign to build trust between rural agriculture producers and urban consumers, but we can't do it alone. When it comes to public trust, credibility is the real issue. And the OWC has credibility simply because we are an independent charity. We are separate from government, we are separate from academia and any special interest groups. Because we are a forum for all voices, and our board of directors represents all sectors. We have 19 members on our board with representation from all corners. We've worked hard to build up our reputation as a science-based and neutral and honest organization. And people are frankly just fed up with marketing and advertising. They want authentic conversations. They want to hear from you, the farmer out on the land, making these decisions every day. And they want to be able to ask you tough questions, and you have to be able to respond. We can help you reach people, your customers, and your criticizers. The audience of concerned citizens that are educated and not afraid to do their own research. Our social media channels alone reach on average 25,000 people a week. This is where most people now are getting their information from, the internet. This has transformed how consumers learn about the products that they buy, where they purchase products, and even how they are delivered, soon to be from a drone without even leaving the house. Sales of food that is produced in environmentally and socially responsible ways is growing, and countries that are imposing stricter regulations, but I don't have to tell you that. This year's data shows that by 2019, millennials will overtake baby boomers as the largest group of voters in Canada. And they want different things than their parents. They grew up in a world of limitations and problems, not bounty and prosperity. And this has shaped their outlook on the world. And it's not just young people who are voting with their wallets. Gen X and baby boomers are also growing increasingly worried that the state of their planet is not very healthy for their kids and their grandkids. We can bury our head in the sand, or we can get to work. We are offering you an opportunity to show your new customers that you are doing your part, and just as importantly, that you're listening to them, and that you get what they want. Your goal to improve public trust in agriculture aligns perfectly with our goal to improve public literacy of watershed function. We need to showcase the best practices that agriculture is using to reduce its environmental impact. This has a double benefit for us of educating consumers and pressuring producers who are not using best practices to start using them. But we need to answer the questions on people's minds. If we want to keep our credibility, people are asking, are pesticides safe? Is there E. coli in the water? Can I eat the fish that I catch in the rivers? For example, by talking about fertilizers used on farms, we open the door to also talking about fertilizers used on lawns. What are the proven impacts? What are our choices? And how can we all do our part to minimize potential risks? For us, it's about what each and every one of us can do, not pointing fingers. Nobody likes to act alone, to spend their time and money to do a little bit of good if no one else is bothering to do it. Large-scale change usually only happens when we act together, showing each other the successes that we have, supporting each other to keep at it, and celebrating along the way. Our Southern Alberta Water Charter project this summer did just that, and some of you participated and saw how powerful it can be when we all pitch in and work together. Large-scale change often requires government support and investment, and we saw that with the shift away from smoking and how we are seeing a shift in our headwaters in the Rocky Mountains to limit human footprint because it is the source of our water. And this is why the OWC advises government on what needs to happen to make it easy for people to do the right thing. It should not be hard. And we know it's hard because we're trying to help people and we run into roadblocks too. But too often I find we don't ask the right people. We focus too much on the problem and not enough on the problem solvers. In the case of public trust, you are the problem solvers. And we want to ask you to invest in telling your story. We have a vehicle and credibility, but we need you to help us and be a key player. And there are 3 things we'd like to ask your help with. The first one is to keep using best practices. We have to showcase only what is real and honest. It's okay sometimes to say, this is a real challenge for us, but we're working on it and we recognize it. The key is to take it seriously. And we know that there are many farmers and ranchers who are already using best practices and who have been for generations. They are your champions and leaders on the issue of public trust. But you also need to raise the bar across the industry and pull up any laggards. The most effective way for that to happen is by talking to your neighbors, your clients, and your colleagues. Peer pressure is the most effective way to get things done. Secondly, we ask that you invest in groups like the OWC. We are charities, and we can't run professional, effective long-term programs without funding. And many groups have stepped up and are investing in this type of work. It's more the on-the-ground social science work that takes the science into people's hearts and minds. And I have a bunch here that I want to thank for supporting our work in the rural landscape. And third, I would ask that you volunteer some time with us. People like Mike Wind, Chris Perry, and others have volunteered to help us film the Potato Growers of Alberta videos that you've probably seen. They're up on our website, on our social media channels. But we also need speakers to talk to consumers. We want to come out to your farm with a busload of consumers and actually talk to you about it. Come to events and talk to consumers there. You know, we need things like videos and photos and stories. That's how you change people's hearts and minds. We're here to help you develop those things and polish it up, make it look good. But we need some of that content from you, and we need your authentic passion that you really do care about your land and your farm, and that really inspires people. So please get in touch and let's talk about how we can support each other on these challenges. Now we'd like to showcase the work that we've been doing for the last 12 years that got us to this point, because now we feel that we are ready and that we are well positioned and that we are passionate about these issues. These are real problems for Southern Alberta. We can't have a growing divide between urban and rural people. Taren Hager here is our ace up our sleeve. She's currently our office manager and Watershed Legacy Program Manager. And yeah, she does 2 jobs right now because she's so passionate about these issues, and she works her butt off to make this happen. She grew up in a rural community near Bow Island. Her dad worked for the St. Mary Irrigation District and currently works for the Eastern Irrigation District. She also worked for Alberta Agriculture on the 5-year BMP project, and now she's an urban mom. She can relate to concerns about food safety, environmental quality, and social responsibility. And we won't find a more perfect person for this role. It's like we made her in a lab. She gets these issues. So I've asked her to show you what we've got. This way?
Thanks, Shannon. So for the last 9 years, we've been investing, oh, there's me, let's move ahead. We've been investing directly in on-the-ground watershed stewardship projects, the best practices that producers should adopt to improve watershed health. We've cost shared with 55 producers, from installing off-stream watering units, to removing invasive weeds, to planting willows. These 55 producers are role models for their neighbors and leaders who are not able to convince urban consumers that agriculture is not bad news for Southern Alberta. We are extremely proud of this work because it demonstrates our commitment to real boots-on-the-ground change and not just talk. The theme of our Southern Alberta Water Charter project was moving from talk to action, and we mean that. We are not just in boardrooms and working from our office. We are on the land planting willows, picking up trash, and pulling weeds. Next year, we'd like to be on your farm, showing urban consumers where their food comes from and what it has to do with watershed health. But we need your help to make this happen. Since you told us that social license is your #1 priority, we've been busy designing how we could work together to solve mutual problems. What it comes down to is authentic, safe dialogue through multiple channels. You can study psychology, education, or neuroscience until the cows come home, and what you'll find is that people only learn through safe, authentic conversation and by having peer support. By safe, I mean people feel encouraged to ask any questions and are not afraid of being criticized and feel they can trust the information being shared. And by authentic, I mean producers talking about their farms, the decisions they face, and what their challenges are. So what we need to do is create spaces for conversations to happen and for support to be given. Whether it's online or in person, the faces have to be real and the host has to be trusted. No sheep asks a wolf what's for dinner. What we'd like to do is host a series of ag tours and ag chats to bring producers and consumers together. There are also existing events like open farm days and Aggie days that we could take a new approach to better engage people. We have to get people out on the land to see it with their own eyes. There's no substitute for this. Online, we can use the power of social media to listen to concerns and answer them, to stimulate dialogue and support those who are ready to take action. Our social media channels have a long reach, and OWC can help navigate the science, explain the facts, and break down the barriers between rural and urban residents who all depend on our most precious shared resource, water. The first year will be a pilot year as we build capacity, community relationships, and evolve what we learned, what works, and what doesn't. Our goal is strong relationships between urban and rural residents where producers feel valued for the food they produce, how they steward the land, and consumers feel their expectations of food quality and environmental health are taken seriously, while also taking responsibility for their own actions in an urban setting. The future years of the program will be to maintain these relationships, but with a focus on program delivery through social media campaigns, blogs, field tours, rural and urban discussion events, media stories, and other activities that show success. The Watershed Legacy Program will continue to support grassroots initiatives through our current small grant process, and also by recruiting volunteers for weed polls, advising government on current important issues, and supporting stakeholder projects. Our aim is to continue to provide support to producers who have stewardship projects that will result in healthier riparian zones and improved water quality. Here are some examples of the types of projects that we have supported. At the Timber Ridge Conservation Site west of Natton, Glenn and Kelly Hall installed with our help stream crossings made out of rig mats, off-stream watering units combined with exclusion fencing. One more picture. The Timber Ridge Conservation Site has become quite the model for private landowner stewardship. This past summer, the MD of Willow Creek received funding to do some biocontrol releases. They released flea beetles to help control invasive weeds along the areas of Willow Creek and the Old Man River. These beetles were targeting hound's tongue, knapweed, and leafy spurge. The Battersea Drain Watershed Group was established in 2003 with the help of Dwayne Rogness from Lethbridge County. This project entailed soil sampling and manure analysis to develop nutrient management plans for producers in the area. There were a total of 130 soil sample sites and 30 manure sampling sites. We will be continuing to showcase producers that are implementing BMPs and solidifying the social norm that protecting waterways is expected and valuable. With the ever-growing misunderstanding of what is happening on the landscape, the goal is an increased understanding of facts about agriculture and irrigation in the watershed and beyond, how both producers and consumers play a role. The direction is clear, and we are excited to launch a revamped program, but in order to do so, we will need to increase our capacity. For the last 10 years, this program has been a small focus at what we do at the Old Man Watershed Council, but rural stakeholders are asking us to make it a big focus. Your unique background, your passion for the Old Man Watershed, and your willingness to become a hands-on advocate for the watershed are what we are counting on to tackle these issues. And finally, I would like to thank our partners and supporters. Without them, the Watershed Legacy Program would not be the success that it is today. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Shannon and Taren, for opening our eyes to possibilities that can exist and partnerships that can also benefit both the urban public as well as farmers when it comes to building trust. So once again, thanks to Shannon and Taren for joining us here today.